Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. I am your host, Ryan Hartley. This podcast is for heart-centered leaders just like you. I hope our time spent together helps you leave a heartprint where those around you are left better than yesterday. These interview sessions are sponsored by our great friends at Elevate Online Marketing. On episode 171, I am joined by Peter Hopwood. Peter is a global speaker coach, TEDx coach, and virtual speaking specialist. Peter travels the globe physically and virtually, supporting executives, leaders, founders, and teams to craft and deliver engaging stories, increase their leadership presence, and persuasive connection. Peter guides professionals to adopt a set of speaking behaviours and insights to create stronger chemistry and connection, using storytelling techniques to get closer to better outcomes. It's a great conversation, one that I hope inspires your speaking. And here we go, episode 171 with Peter Hopwood. Peter, welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. And I'm even better having a chat with you. So we tried to get this going, and a few ups and downs along the way, but we made it. So,
absolutely.
So I'm happy that we're chatting now. Where are you right now, Ryan? You have to tell me. You have to remind me. Where are you?
I'm in southwest England, near Bath.
Right. Okay. I'm in Split in Croatia. Beautiful. Beautiful. No, it's beautiful here, and I'm sure it's beautiful where you are.
100%.
It's beautiful how we're connecting.
It really is. It really is. It's testament to technology. I could really do with some sunshine. Please tell me it's cloudy where you are.
Yeah, no, it's not. I'm looking to my left, and it's blue sky and sunshine. Although it's a bit chilly, it's quite chilly outside. But
I'm happy for you.
But still, the sunshine. You're right. A bit of sunshine, just seeing the sun, even though it may be quite cold, can just give us a boost.
100%. I'd love to start the conversation at the cutting edge of where you meet the world and all the great things that you really do, but something's captured my curiosity, and it's looking at your early career where you spend, the mid-90s at Disneyland Paris, working in Disneyland Paris. Then a couple of years later, you're working in Ibiza. I mean, those two working experiences are very contrasting. Did they shape you in any way?
Yeah, no, listen, everything is shaped us all in everything we do till right now, in who we are, how we see ourselves, the story in our head about who we are and how we kind of show up in this world, and I suppose the perception of others as well. No, but so yeah, Disneyland Paris. So I left home. I was working. Well, not working. Well, I was my education, art college, drawing every single day with a pencil, which a lot of people, I'm sure if there's anyone listening to this who's been to art college, pencils do play a big role still today, although computers play a bigger role probably. Back then it was literally pencils and coloring pencils, charcoal, and paper every day. And that I loved it because it was a way to be expressive. And I didn't carry on my education in arts, and I just needed to travel. I needed to build up my confidence, because I think traveling helps you. We can think about it. Everyone can think about this. When we travel, it makes us feel good, right? But it also gives us this confidence level, a confidence that when we're younger, and I suppose that's why a lot of people go traveling, because it just gives them opens up doors and gives them their own confidence about who they are in the world and where they're going. So I just needed to travel. So I went to live in Scotland for a while, and then after that back to London, and then Paris, Disneyland Paris, and then once I did Paris, it was like, I can do more of this. And the world is so much bigger than it seems, maybe. And so I gave me the confidence to travel more, and then Marseille, south of France, and I started working with a British tour operator, not to Ibiza, in fact, but to Mallorca, Malta, Budapest, Madeira, So I lived in 6 countries, and then I had a placement in Croatia, which at the time, again, not a lot of many people had heard about, apart from maybe the troubles that they'd seen in terms of the civil war, that was the troubles that was going on here quite a few years earlier. But it was intriguing. It was a small place, and then sort of fast forward to today, still here. 21 years later, still in Croatia. But I suppose my career developed more into helping people share their messages, find their stories, and deliver those stories in the right way. But in terms of Disney and the world, working with holidaymakers, many things similar actually, because you have to present yourself, you have to present ideas, you have to present the holiday resort, you have to get people, people feeling intrigued, people feeling good about what they're about to do. Disney has this culture of, again, it's a feel-good culture, isn't it? There's nothing, generally, as a kid, nothing negative about Disney. It's a feeling, isn't it? It's helping people feel that way. And so, just as part of that puzzle at Disney, helping kids and families to feel good about what they're doing while they're there. And same thing about holidays. Holidays are really important. They mean so much, don't they? They mean even more so maybe after what we've all been through, certainly in the UK, where it's a feeling of confidence. It's a feeling of feeling free. It's a feeling of the things that you don't do normally, and you're trying something new. And you can be who you want on holiday as well. You can be completely the opposite of who you are in your normal life, which is quite intriguing, because it gives you a break from it, because nobody knows you. Well, usually nobody knows you. Depends where you go. So those two worlds, although you might think they were quite different, but they're quite similar in terms of what I was doing there. And how's that shaped me today? Certainly, again, building up my confidence to speak to members of the public, speak to people as they were judging me early on in my career, trying to help people feel good about who they are and what they're doing. And that's the same thing. That's pretty much the same thing I do today, helping people feel good about who they are, ready to share their messages in the right way, connect with their audiences, and again, make an impact.
I love that. Hey, my friends, just want to take a quick moment to thank you for listening to the show so far. I hope it is serving you well. And I wanted to let you know that on the 25th of June, we will be holding a 5-year celebration based at the home of our podcast, Elevate Online Marketing offices in Trowbridge. Our community turns 5 this summer, and I really want to bring great people like you together. We have 3 guest speakers lined up. We will be joined by the YouTube sensations that are Evolution of Dave and Esther McCann. And we'll also be joined by our great friend and TEDx speaker, Tommy Gentleman. It's going to be a great celebration. We'll have welcome drinks provided by Elevate Online Marketing. We're going to have some great food provided by Velicious, and we have a band performing live for the very first time. There's a special connection with the band. All will be revealed soon, but for now, please head to the show notes, get your tickets, and I really look forward to celebrating with you on the 25th of June. Let's get back to the interview. You featured on the TEDx stage. I know that you help leaders, stand on stages and tell their stories and tell better stories. How did you journey? Did you first have to discover your own story? Is it start there?
Well, not really. It's more about, so my story. We all have our own stories, but it wasn't, my journey is not really about my story and sharing that story. It's more about the skills that I kind of learned along the way.
Gotcha.
And then helping others to share their stories, to help others to find the story that's right for them, or the one that's going to make the most impact, and how they're going to deliver that. So, as I say, many years with Thompson Holidays, in fact. So presentation, meetings, presenting the resort, presenting all the great things they can get up to. So the same presentation in, every single week in front of 100, 200 people, 4 or 5 times a week. So the same thing. But I realized early on the small things I did to change, like maybe the things I said, slightly change them, slightly different words, the way I said those words, how I felt about what I was saying, how I felt about myself, if I wasn't feeling good for some reason. All of these things make a difference because people feel that. People can feel how you're feeling, and that helps them. It gives them a kind of gauge whether they're going to start to trust you, start to like you, and start to believe whether, well, yeah, actually, this guy's got something good to say. And so through the years, making mistakes through that and doing quite well with that helped me to kind of work out generally the things that we can do to get a better connection and to get closer to those outcomes that we want to do. So it's been a kind of that kind of journey to where I am today, and I'm still learning, because every client I work with, there's something new to discover about them, and discover about me as well. Sounds strange, but it's true. You just you hear things, and I challenge myself on the things that I'm sharing with them, because sometimes, well, often actually, one thing for one person may not work for someone else, and someone else may have something up their sleeve that you don't know about, that you haven't seen before, or maybe because of their personality or because of their message, it's better their way than what I suggest. So yeah, my journey is really kind of, I keep learning and keep listening to the clients that I'm working with.
I love that. I love that. Clearly, this doesn't apply to the people that are listening right now, because clearly they do care because they push play. But what are the power of the two words?
They might not. Hopefully, they're still with us.
Yeah,
maybe they've pressed pause.
They're definitely still with us.
Hopefully.
What is the power of the two words? Nobody cares.
Yeah, no one really cares. I mean, we speakers often, so working with a lot of professional speakers, because they're a professional speaker and they get paid a lot of money, and they do it as a job. Often egos get quite big. People's idea of themselves, the perception of themselves, often is bigger than it really is, right? So whenever we're speaking to a crowd, an audience, right now, a podcast, on TV, on a stage, in front of a group of a team, your team leader, let's say, a morning briefing, a webinar, whatever it is, when you're speaking, people who listen to you, they owe you nothing. They owe you nothing at all to listen to you. In fact, they don't even owe you their time. Misconception. They don't really owe you anything at all. You might even think because you're their boss, you think you deserve their time, but in fact, maybe physically, because they have to be there, but emotionally, anyone could just turn off at any time. Yeah. So it's that kind of phrase, no one cares, has always been something that I've always remembered, and I always try to help people understand that from day one. Because if you start, as soon as you think that, okay, well, people are here to listen to me, people are here to the perception that I have from them is up here somewhere, and people are really interested and really intrigued to hear what I have to say, even before you've started. Most of the time, it's not like that at all. right? So as soon as you start, you have to really think about the things, well, before you start, you think about the things that help people to keep intrigued, to grab their attention, to keep their attention. No one owes you a thing. So why should I keep listening to you? It's even more difficult online. So anything in front of a screen, when we're in front of a screen, it's even more difficult, because screens are designed, when we look at screens, we automatically know we can just click something and it goes. So Netflix, when we don't like something, we click. YouTube, click. This podcast. But the good thing about these things online are people can come back to them.
Yeah.
Right. So urgency, maybe they have something else which is a higher on their priority list, so they can come back to it, which is cool, which is fine. But still, to get people to keep listening, people need to know what's coming, or the feeling of what's coming. You did an intro to this podcast episode. So first of all, people see the episode, maybe they've seen some images perhaps, or they've seen something that's popped up on LinkedIn, or maybe they've already subscribed. So they kind of know the kind of guests and the kind of value that they share anyway, right? So they'll see this, see my name, and hear your intro, and all of that is designed to help the listener think, well, yeah, actually, I'm going to stick around. So yeah, big 2 words, no one really cares. No one cares. You have to make them care. You have to earn everybody's respect to listen to you, because their time is the most valuable thing they can give you.
Yeah.
And knowing that will just help you keep your feet on the ground and really focus on value, focus on the things that are going to help them stick around.
Yeah. And 100%, I completely agree with you. And at this point, I'd just like to pause and just, again, thank everybody whoever pushes that play button. But I'm also going to encourage them to push the pause button and consider watching this on YouTube, because I can see that Peter's taking a great deal of conscious effort to do a lot of gestures and physical, which I imagine if you close your eyes whilst you listen to the podcast, you will almost be able to hear the expression that Peter is demonstrating. But I want you to go see that with your eyes and see what difference that makes, because it really adds to that mastery of communication. So thank you for your example, Peter.
Well, from now on, I'm sorry to disappoint. I will just keep my hands down below and don't say anything. But it's true what you're saying. The animation, we have to be animated. Certainly in this, if we're talking about this online world of Zoom and virtual exchanges, we need to add a little bit more oomph in terms of our animation, in terms of life, in terms of movement, in terms of how we sound. Because it's so easy not to share that, because often we don't think about what we look like when people look at us on a screen. We when we're looking at a camera, unless we are aware of what people can actually see on the other side, it comes across as very bland, not enough energy, and we're not giving the right signals in terms of how we're feeling and how we're reacting to what's being heard. Right. So it's making sure that your gestures and your facial expression and your voice are kind of like a level up to create that connection and to clearly make it easy for the other person who's looking at you to really understand what's happening and how you feel.
So the people listening, they've now got a heart for serving rather than expecting status. Why ought they consider becoming a storyteller? How might that help?
So essentially, like when we make this, and I'm sure many of your listeners will know this as well, when we make everything we see, we hear, everything around us, we're making judgments, right? We're making judgments on what we see often based on our experience before, based on bias, based on evidence that we've had, that the story in our head as well about who, as I said earlier on, who we are and how we see the world and how we think perhaps other people see us, right? So all these signals we're making judgments on, right? And these judgments are often based on emotion, right? And how we feel. And so what we see, colors, you may see, I don't know, yours is actually very good. Your background is very clean and it feels good, but often we see messy backgrounds and bookshelves with books overflowing pretty much everywhere. And that will give us a feeling. It will give us a feeling that maybe this person could be maybe messy in his private life, maybe also in his professional. We don't know. But all of this creates an emotion, and on that emotion, we make a judgment, and we either connect or we don't connect. So telling stories or stories in terms of emotion, because that's what they are. Stories are pretty much, I like to call them moments of emotion. Emotions that we all can relate to. So all those emotions as an adult that we've all experienced at some stage, most of us: fear, excitement, disappointment, rejection, all of that, right? So it's all emotion. So when we start to talk about things that have happened to us with emotion, often we can relate to that because we felt that way, or we can feel, we can understand, we can imagine what it feels like. I can say to you now, Ryan, have you ever been on a plane, sitting on a plane, and it's been delayed, right? And you're sitting on that plane, and the more the minutes carry on ticking, the more frustrated you become. Yeah. So you can imagine, even if you haven't actually been on a plane in that situation, you can imagine the feeling of how that feels, right? You can imagine that frustration. You can imagine that kind of, am I going to be able to, is this plane going to take off so I'm going to get home in time so I'm back at work tomorrow morning? Or my car parking, parking my car at Heathrow, money it's going to, or just, yeah, absolutely. So you can, just by getting people to feel something, really create that connection and relevance, can help people connect.
Yeah.
And then that comes into the umbrella of simply storytelling to get people's attention, because storytelling is really good for so many things. It's unpredictable.
Yeah.
So if I say to you, like, okay, let me explain to you a few things that happened to me this morning, you're going to like this. So even though I, you have no idea where I'm going with this, and you're more likely to be intrigued with that than if I said to you something that you already know.
Yeah.
You watch a movie. We watch a movie that we've seen 10 times before. Some people like that. Some people like to do that and watch movies they've seen before over and over again. I personally only like to see it once, maybe twice if it's really good. But generally, we don't watch things that we know are coming back, right, with this emotion. The only time we can do that is with music. Music, every time. So we can listen to music 100 times, the same thing, and still feel good every time we hear that. If we watch a movie, it's not unpredictable. We know what's coming. So a story, anything with the story or emotions is unpredictable. Gossip, right? Gossip. That's unpredictable. That's, well, not necessarily unpredictable, but it's stories about other people that intrigue us because we're thinking about how it relates to us, perhaps, right? So simply thinking more about emotions and how those emotions are connected with the content you're sharing, the outcome you want connected to the emotion that's connected with that story. So it's actually a lot simpler than many people will think, Because when we talk about storytelling, a lot of people, it gets thrown around all the time in all different shapes and sizes. And we often think about, okay, story, we think of stories as in, start, middle, finish. We've got these, I don't know, the hero's journey, for example, ups and downs, and then, top of a mountain at the end, or Olympic gold medal from someone who was very poor, let's say, or from a broken family, blah, blah, blah. Those definitely are stories, but it's all about emotion. But I can have just as much impact if I'm talking about an idea connected to something that I'm selling, for example, or the product I'm selling, or maybe the stories of the people that have used this service or product, where they came to me. Let's say someone came to me and they had this real fear of real issue of building up their confidence when they had to speak in front of a crowd, and then we worked on it. There were ups and downs, difficult, quite a long time, but at the end of it, stood on a TEDx stage and shared his message, and now he's actually got loads more gigs in terms of speaking at more stages. That's a story. That's a really simple story. The success story. But in fact, what is it? It's just emotion, something that's happened to somebody connected with your story, connected with your product or service, and that's what it's all about. These moments of emotion.
Love that. There'll be many people listening that at some point this year they will have to either pitch themselves, their services, their business to another human being. I know you help people with that. Is there a particular formula that you use?
No. to the short and sweet answer to that, not really. But again, certain things you have to remember, and certain things, if you remember these things and work on these things, it will certainly help you. Think about the emotions involved. Think about how you're feeling, or your product or your service, what it does, the big picture of what it does. Let's say, okay, you wouldn't be doing this, but if somebody was selling hotel rooms or a hotel, or the services of a hotel, selling a room is what? When you sell a room, what do you sell? Do you sell the room? Not really. You're actually selling something more than that. You're selling a good night's sleep. You're selling a peaceful night's sleep. You're selling a feel-good moment, where they're staying. So this is just something, I just grabbed it there, but I don't know whether you can see that. Can you see that?
For those listening, it's a Premier Inn hotel key card, and it says your key to a great night's sleep.
Exactly. So your key to a great night's sleep. So this is it is a key card, and it does, what does it do? It opens the door to your room. But what it actually does is it gives you access to a great night's sleep. And it's not a nice little bit of marketing on the card, but it's so true. Again, if you're selling beds, if you're somebody who sells a bed or furniture, like beds, you're not selling a bed or a mattress. You're selling, again, a good night's sleep. You're selling a night's sleep of comfort.
The transformation.
Well, not just a night's sleep, years of comfort, however long a mattress normally lasts. It's an investment into your well-being. So always think about the big picture of what it really does. Not necessarily the actual function, but think about like the bigger picture of the feeling, of the emotions it creates. Also, when you start out, whenever you're, for example, working with founders, working with startups, when we're starting the pitch, often we look at ways of finding common ground, right? Or getting people to listen to you more because it's relevant to them. It reminds me now of a TEDx talk with a lady that I helped last year, and her talk simply was all about, she's a professor teacher, and she talked about the importance of the connections that you have as an educator together with your students. And we should really be thinking more about that for educators, how we can do that better, right? So that's essentially framing what it's all about. So we came up with a start which really helped people think about a certain thing. I'll share with you right now what that was. So she would start something like, let me think. So think back to when you were about 15, right? Starting 15, 16, okay? And you're starting, it's about the time where you start your first day at high school, let's say. That time, I'm sure there's many of you that felt good, that felt, you know, you're a teenager, the world's in front of you, feeling good, ready for what's ahead. Looking at the other boys and girls, for example, and thinking about who you're gonna try and ask out on a date, let's say. There were many, I'm sure, that probably feeling, you know, a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit unsure, not quite sure where they should be in this world, and going to school where there's a lot of new people out of your comfort zone feels kind of odd, right? But for all of us during that time, I'm sure there's one teacher, one special teacher that you remember, one special teacher that stands out. And then she would say, for me, it was Miss XXX, right? And then we would focus on the teacher and that relationship she had. But just by doing that, it helps people to start thinking about to be in that position, right? So first day at school, some of us were feeling good, some of us were not feeling great. I don't know who's feeling good, who's not feeling good, but I kind of went in both camps. You could be like this, or it could be like this. But for all of us, which is pretty true, there was one teacher that we remember. And when I say that, automatically most of us start thinking about our teacher, right? You, Ryan, I'm not sure, but I imagine there was images of your favorite teacher that you remember for good or bad reasons. But I didn't say that's irrelevant, because I just said thinking about a teacher that you remember. So once you've thought about that in your mind, and I don't need to know who that is, as soon as I say, well, for me, it's a teacher called XXX, you're more in a position to listen to me, because you've thought about that in your mind, rather than if I didn't plant that seed. Ryan, what's your favorite packet of crisps? Don't tell me, just think your favorite packet of crisps, right? Favorite packet. I'm going to tell you right now what my favorite packet is. My favorite packet is it's actually Monster Munch. I don't know whether they make them anymore. Do they make them anymore?
Yes, mate.
They do. They do. Yeah, Monster Munch. Quite spicy, quite and a lot of orange crisps everywhere around my house. Back then. But anyway, here's the thing. Again, I ask you what you think, or maybe think about this. You don't have to tell me. It's a rhetorical question. You don't have to tell me the answer. I don't need to know the answer. I don't want to know the answer. But what it does, it just gets you thinking about it. And then when I say, bang, mine is this, you're like automatically, I mean, I'm curious, I'm intrigued, because I want to know what somebody else's opinion is on the same thing. So that's a really good way of, well, I'm not talking about crisps, asking people what their favorite crisps. That's what everybody will be doing now, but not to do that, but just to get people to think about a topic by asking them a question and letting that sink, absorb in their minds. And once they start doing that and start agreeing with you, when I say, you know, I'm sure there's one teacher that we all remember. I'm pretty sure there's one teacher that we all remember. And in your mind, you're like, yeah, I remember my teacher, bang, in my mind. So you're agreeing with me, you're with me. So the more times we kind of agree, we need lots of agreements. And once we agree on that, have lots of those small little agreement moments that are relevant to both of us, it's so much easier to move on to the next bit or next part. Just think of simple ways you can get common ground.
Do you think we have almost like a spidey sense to being sold to that we have to somehow navigate?
Yeah. If we feel like we're being sold to, as soon as we have those signals that pop up, and they can come from anywhere. They can come from what we see. They can come from the way the person's dressed. They can come from the way the tone of voice. So as soon as we feel that, often there are many that are okay with it. There are many that would, pull up a barrier. Something I heard not so long ago, again, with a great call center coach. So it's a coach that helps people with cold calling and speaking over the phone. He said, actually, it's far better not, when you start off, not to have that chirpy, bright, full of life, confident, shiny voice and tone. Because most people, if you just jump in and you do that, certainly in a phone environment, a phone calling environment, most people will think they're ready to be sold to, right? And again, if they start like that, then it's so much more difficult to keep them with you. So he suggested, just be a little bit more kind of natural. You don't have to push your voice any further. You don't have to don't have to sound any more confident. Certainly the other side of the scale, keep away from that, where you sound really boring and not engaging at all, and you're just reading off a script and you're ready to go home. But just a kind of natural, not over the top start to that exchange can mean so much.
Love that. I want to be super conscious and respectful of your time. What is a question maybe that you've not been asked but you'd like to answer?
That's really a question that I have never been asked, but I'd like to answer. I don't know. That's a good question to ask, because I don't know. I'm trying to think of something, essentially something that I want to say, I want to share, and want to give my opinion on, but no one's bothered to pretty much to ask me.
Genius question, right?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
Question. It's a good one. I can't help.
Good.
I'm stuck.
Where can people find out more about you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, no, the easiest way is jump onto LinkedIn and put in my name and public speaking, and I will pop up. You can see all the stuff that I've been doing recently, what I'm about to do, a lot of this podcast. I'm sure the links to this podcast, although they've probably already got there because they've listened to this before. Kind of a strange labyrinth.
Inception,
yeah. But if anybody's actually already found me, they might come onto this podcast. That will be a weird thing. They found me first, then they come in and they come and see or hear the podcast, then they reach out to you. Yeah, LinkedIn, best way. And have a look at what I'm doing. If you feel that maybe we can collaborate, something that I can help you with. A lot of what I'm doing right now is helping teams and professionals and leaders to really get good at this, these virtual exchanges. So using our voice, body, gestures, storytelling, how to create that chemistry, how to keep people's attention and get closer to the outcome. So if that tickles your fancy or tickles the fancy of your team, reach out and let's see where we can potentially collaborate.
What does the phrase "always better than yesterday" mean to you?
Always better than yesterday. For me, moving, keep on moving is like 3 words that kind of help me, that I automatically think of when I hear what you've just said to me. Right? So keep on moving. So whatever you do, keep moving. So keep moving in terms of, okay, physically, keep moving, but also emotionally, mentally, keep learning, there's always something new to learn. Jump out your comfort zone now and again. Don't stay static, and when you're static, I'm also thinking of emotionally. So when we're drowning in our sorrows, when we're drowning in our maybe, I don't know, if we're not feeling great about ourselves, we've got a big worry we're trying to figure out. Keep moving in terms of getting advice from other people, talk to people about things. These last 18 months, 2 years for everyone has hit us in different ways. And so for me, my whole events career, not the whole career, but I felt like it just completely stopped. It completely stopped. Coaching career, had to figure out how I was going to change things around by changing it online. But pretty much I'm here in my flat in Croatia, and trying to work out what I'm going to do next by keeping on moving, in terms of keep on reaching out. I was looking at a lot of things online, reaching out to people maybe that I wouldn't have reached out to before. A bit of exercise now and again. Things often are worse in our heads than they actually are. You know that more than many, right? So, and whatever we think about, often it gets bigger. So think about a worry. When we think about it a lot, we're focused on that worry, it kind of opens up lots of cans of worms, because we keep thinking about things that often won't probably happen. Whereas if we think about something that's good, or we want to achieve, or we want to get closer to, the more we think about that, the more this kind of energy. I'm a real big believer in this kind of energy that's there from the way we're feeling about who we are and other people as well. So yeah, keep on moving. Don't stay static, and every day is different. Every day is a different day. Can you hear that?
Yeah, what is it?
I have no idea.
Sounds like a cat doing martial arts.
I think there might be a cat in the corridor. Not my corridor.
Yeah.
I'm on the 5th floor. Yeah. Yeah, there must be a cat in the...
It's a cat doing martial arts.
Yeah,
It's just in my head now.
right.
It's great. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you and the stories that you've shared with us. I'd be honoured if you'd leave us with a final thought from your good self.
It's getting louder. Isn't that cat? Martial art cats. Hong Kong Fooey. But that was a dog. If anyone Googles that, it was actually a dog from the 80s, cartoon character called Hong Kong Fooey. And if it was a cat, that's what he would sound like. Anyway, last thoughts I would say is, again, no one owes you a thing. People's judgment of you and who you are, we can't change that. We can't stop people judging us. We can't control that either. We can't control how people judge us. But what we can do is do things that are going to help to create a better perception, right? So judgment, let people judge you, especially with speaking. Let people judge you, because you're putting yourself in a position where there's more eyes on you, more ears listening to you, and so naturally, in terms of numbers, in a numbers game, you're going to get more people that are not going to like you, and it's okay. Not everyone has to like you. That's okay. Not everyone has to like you. If everyone doesn't like you, then maybe there is a problem. But being okay with letting people judge you is a good thing. Really good thing.
I love that. Thank you so much, my friend.
You're welcome. Hopefully we can do this again someday.
Yes.
And I can invite the ninja cats, and yeah, we can have a great episode on
So
on
good. Take care, brother.
Take it easy.
Hey my friends, thank you for making it to the end. I hope that our time spent together today has left you a little bit better than before you push play. I'd really appreciate if you just took a moment to leave a review to allow me to meet more people where they are and hopefully leave them a little bit better too. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organisation, then head to alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com to connect. And while you're there, let me know 1 or 2 things that you're going to do as a result of listening to this conversation. I absolutely love hearing your thoughts, your reflections, and the things that this spark in your own heart and mind. If you want more insights from my heart and mind, I do send out short episodes on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, and again, I hope that they serve you well. I appreciate you listening. I'm Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast, a podcast for heart-centered leaders just like you. Keep leading, my friends. Always love.